Good afternoon. I'm Aaron Heiser, Maker's Leather Supply, and today we're doing another one of those long overdue videos for a template that we put out a long time ago that it's pretty self-explanatory if you've built any of our other templates, but we still need to make a video on it. Anyway, this one is the Minimalist Wallet is what we're calling it. It is a very simple design. Can be a front pocket wallet. It's small enough. It has two little pockets on the inside, a cash pocket and the back, and that's that. It's a great little build. It could practically be made from scraps depending on what kind of scraps your shop might have laying around. The template itself is 3 pieces. You've got your 2 card pieces. You would we're going to lay that down, cut one out, flip it over, cut another one out. This is the little cash pocket separator thing, and then this is the back. Now we're going to do things a little different on this build just to show you how you can what would the word be, improvise, I guess, because you know the back should be 4 to 5 ounce, the interior pieces should be 2 to 3 ounce and 2 to 3 ounce. Well, we're gonna basically make the back, we're gonna make the whole thing out of 2 to 3 ounce, but we're going to sew or glue 2 pieces of leather together to make up this back piece, and then that way we don't have to procure 2 different weights of leather. I do realize that, you know, when people get my templates, they're like, holy crap, it needs like 3-4 different weights of leather. And I get it. I know that not everybody has all that just laying around. I'm very fortunate to have a shop that has all the leather I could ever imagine here. So anyway, that's what we're gonna do. That's one of the goals of today's video, is just to show you that we can take 2 layers of that 2 to 3 ounce and make a very fine lined wallet back by gluing 2 pieces of it together. And then we'll use another piece for the cash pocket, another piece for each of the card pockets, and we're going to cut it all out. So without further ado, I'm going to push the camera down because you don't need to see my pretty face, you need to see my pretty desk. So push that light down a little bit too so it's not killing me the whole video. Everybody's always asking, what do you got in your pipe? What do you got in your pipe? Well, today it is called Wild Hair. Great stuff. Alright, so I'm going to get this cutting pad out of the way, because what we're going to do is use my cutting mat. We'll use my scalpel. I'll put a brand new blade in the scalpel because every job I start with a fresh blade, which really stinks when you break it 30 seconds into the job, but you know, whatever. That's why I like scalpel blades versus sharpening stuff all the time. Alright, brand new blade on the scalpel. Let me grab this piece of leather we're going to use for this video. This is a piece of tooling calf, approximately 2 to 3 ounces. It's got a real nice feel to it. It's real soft, kind of buttery feeling, but it's just straight up veg tan calf. Sorry, there's something under it I need to get out from under it. Really nice stuff. I did get this from Tandy because there's a special project they've asked me to make that they wanted me to use it on. So we're going to use some of it for this. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pick a really nice area of leather and I'm going to cut out the back of my wallet. Alright, so here we go. I'm just carefully cutting this right up on the against the template with my scalpel, and someone is knocking on the door. Let me go see what in the heck. Alright, sorry about that. The UPS man came by to pick up today's outgoing boxes. Alright, so while he was knocking on the door, I was finishing up the cut on this thing. So there it is. We have one of our pieces now cut. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and just rough cut out another one, and I'm going to make it too big. All right, and then we'll use that to glue to the first one, and that's how we'll come up with our final, our finished outside piece. All right, so all I'm going to do is just kind of rough cut this thing. Make sure I'm about 1/4 of an inch on the outside of the template on all sides. All right. Right over my chair for a minute. So I'm going to go ahead and glue these two pieces up so that we can, that means we got an order on the website. I'm going to go ahead and glue these two pieces up so that they can be, the glue can be setting up whilst cutting out the other pieces. All right. So here I have, I'll grab a piece of paper here so I don't screw up my my glue job. All right, so I'm going to take this one, and on the back of the other one, I'm going to take an ink pen. If I have one. If not, I will take this here pencil and just kind of trace the outline so that you know, I can make sure that I get it on all sides, and when I replace it, I want to make sure that when I start setting it down that it'll, you know, when I get to the other end of it, that it won't be off the leather. Okay, and again, this is 2 to 3 ounce pieces that we're going to glue together so that we can have a 4, 5, 6 ounce piece. These are kind of from the lighter end of that that tooling calf, so it will be about 5 ounces when it's all done. And you can do this with almost any wallet piece, and it makes a really nice, you know, finished piece, because now the inside of this wallet's going to be lined. So that's you know, that's always a bonus. All right, got glue on that one piece. I'm going to move it and glue up the other piece here. I'm using our Maker's contact cement here. Always use in a well-ventilated area. This wallet is going to be completely natural veg tan. I'm not dyeing it, I'm not staining it, I'm not tooling it. It's just going to be a beautiful veg tan. I mean, sometimes I just love the look of a nice veg tan piece. And so yeah, it'll be nice. Alright, so I got these two pieces. I'm just going to set them off to the side and let them set for a little bit to let that glue set up. Only takes a couple of minutes, but I'll go ahead and cut out my other two pieces while that's happening. So, throw this thing away. Alright, bring my leather back out here. So now I need to cut out one of the divider piece here. Alright, I'm just going to set her up there and get to cutting. Okay, so there's that one. Now I need two of this piece, all right? And it says on it, cut one, flip, and cut another. So that's exactly what we're going to do. We'll cut one out, we'll flip it over, and we'll cut another one, because they have to be mirror images of each other. So there's one, flip it over, make sure I'm not getting into where I overcut the last piece. Oops. I only cut 3 sides of that sucker. Line it back up. Cut that 4th side off. There we go. It happens. Alrighty. So now I got all these pieces. Now, I should probably do a little something to do just the slightest little bit of decorating on some of this, okay? Like I said, it's just going to be plain veg tan. It won't be tooled or anything, but that doesn't mean we can't add a little something to it. This one right here has a plain bridle interior, but if you look, I just did a little line right there and then on the tops of each of these pockets, and that's called a crease. And again, it's nothing huge, but it's just a little something to make it look more refined and finished than just a plain piece of leather there. Okay, there are plenty of fancy tools out there to do creasing with. If you don't have any of those, the best one I've used when I'm not using my fancy creasing tools is just to use my wing dividers. They'll lay a nice crease on a piece of leather. I will show you. Now I'm going to hold my template on here just to keep that real thin piece of leather there from buckling up under my creaser or my wing divider. But I'm just going to take it. One side of it's going to be against the edge of the leather, and the other side is going to have its point in the leather. And I'm just going to make me a line. I may go over it again just to make sure it's good and deep on there. Now, that little line right there is hard to see. There you go. It's going to be there forever. So again, a real little thing takes 5 seconds of my time, but yet it makes a nice little difference. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and get these other pieces a little damp so that I can do that to them. But then I'm going to move over and I'm going to go ahead and glue my my front pieces together while these set up a little bit and dry, I guess, or case or whatever. We get some air on them. All right, so here's what is going to make my liner piece, and here is the piece that I was going to make the back. Okay, and again, I drew that little rectangle on there to make sure that I wouldn't accidentally be off one side of it when I put it together. Okay, so I've set them together there, and I'm going to get my squeaky toy, and I'm going to make sure all that glue is nice and stuck, especially around the edges. Alright, now, after doing all that, I'm going to go back to my template, and I'm going to recut this piece out, liner and all. Okay, now the other piece should be the same size unless something weird happened and it stretched, which it did not. But I'm going to perfectly line up my template, and I'm going to cut off that liner that's overhanging now. There we go. Now we have a piece that is perfectly trimmed off, smooth on both sides, and yeah, we have made a 4 to 5 ounce type back out of 2 to 3 ounce leather. I don't have my gauge up here. I'd measure it and tell you exactly where it's at, but anyway. All right, now the other pieces should be about ready for their crease. They've returned to their natural color, so I'm just going to take my wing divider and narrow it a little bit more here. Normally a crease is about 1/8 of an inch or so. I'm going to go nice and slow because I don't want that leather to fold up underneath the pressure that I'm putting on it. There we go. There's one of them. Alright, there's those two. Now I want to do across the top of the cash pocket. And the other way to do this would be just to take a ruler and put across the top. And then you could take almost any sharp thing. I mean, I've even used the back of my scalpel blade to go down and make a line like this up against a ruler. So even if you don't have a pair of wing dividers with a sharp point like this, you can still do something like this. And again, it looks really nice. Okay, there must be something under here because it's not wanting to follow that line there. Alright, I'm actually going to pause the camera and redo that one. I didn't follow they got off the line a little bit. But I'm going to have to recut this piece because this is actually going to be photographed and everything, and it needs to be better than that. So, I'll pause the camera. When I come back, I'll have a better piece of that. Alright, so took that opportunity to do a much nicer one. If it focuses in there, you can see that little line that's down at the bottom there. That's actually the top. So, there we go. Alright, so the next thing that we need to do is we need to prepare to put these pieces, we need to do some edge work. Alright, here I have a size 0 Barry King grooved edger, and I am going to groove these little suckers, or edge these little suckers. I'm going to put them up on top of the template because this grooved edger is actually, this leather is pretty thin, and this edger just doesn't, the cutting surface of it doesn't want to reach the corner before it hits the cutting mat down there. So this way, it'll actually take a little corner off there. Alright, so we're going to do this middle piece, front and back, and then we'll do each of these two pieces just on the top, front and back, and then on this side right here we'll just do the front side. Okay, and the reason we're just doing the front side there is because it will be sewn down to another piece there, so no need to do the back when it could lay flat against the piece it's going to sew to. So alright, even that up a little bit. I've been playing with a new edging type stuff. I've been doing a lot of the indelible burnishing solution. I know y'all have seen that. But this is actually, it's the indelible edge ink, but without any color applied to it. It's just the solution itself. So they're calling it just edge ink clear, and I'm going to put that on this because it'll leave a nice natural colored edge, but it'll be shiny and finished. So I will have to go over there in a second and get all my stuff for that. I thought I brought everything over here that I needed, but I did not. So I'll have to run over to the other bench in a second. I'm just, since this leather's so thin, I'm putting the template on top of it, and that way it doesn't try to curl up under the edger, it just cuts. Not a fan of trying to edge thin leather. As a matter of fact, on the sample wallet I just showed, I didn't even bother edging these little bitty things. So it's not to say that you shouldn't, it's just to say that I was too lazy to do it. And like all of our templates, you can take the paper off the back of this, and then you can see through the pattern. But I just normally do not, for the video's sake, unless I'm trying to make sure I get an extra clean piece of leather underneath the pattern. It is nice to be able to see through them so that you can do that. Almost done with my edge in here, and then, like I said, I'm going to pause it and go grab my neutral edge ink stuff, my clear edge ink. And it was actually Jerry Van Amberg taught me that little trick. He said he gets another company's the same thing. It's just the liquid without any colorant in it, without any pigment in it, and he uses that on a lot of his exotics and stuff that he does. So I grabbed up the indelible stuff that we use. I got a hold of a bottle of it without any pigment, and sure enough, it works awesomely. I don't know why I never thought of that myself, but probably because I don't have much of an imagination. Alright, so give me just a second. I'm going to grab that edge stuff. Alright, so I put some of that clear edge ink in one of my little indelible refillable markers. I'm just going to kind of charge it there and make sure I've got plenty of it on the tip. And then I'm just going to lightly apply it to the edges here. And then how this stuff works, just like the edge ink, I'm going to have to sand it and apply it again to get it nice and smooth. And it's going to be a very, very nice edge with some shine to it. It's not going to be easy to sand that tiny little edge, but I'll see what I can do about it, right? Alright, the other thing I want to do is I can go ahead and sand the top edge of my wallet and get it nice and even so that I can do the exact same thing to it. So I've got some 320 grit sandpaper here, and I'm just going to carefully sand just that edge. What I'm going to do this edge, call it the top. It's a little bit more flat, and then on the when I'm got the whole thing together, I'll take it out there to the power sander and sand all the layers together real well. All right, so again, I'm going to cut the edge with my little Berry King edger here. Again, this is one of Berry King's grooved edgers. I'm going to start carrying these pretty soon. I'm very, very impressed with them. Still will carry Ron's tools. I just like to give people a choice. Alright, so got that. I'm going to do a tiny bit more sanding, and then I'm going to go ahead and put that edge ink on here too. Again, I'll charge up the tip a little bit, get her nice and damp. And then I'll be careful just to keep it right on the edge. I don't want to get it on the faces of the leather because I'm going to oil this. Or maybe not. Maybe I'll just lacquer it. I don't know yet. It's been a while since I've made anything that was just solid veg tan that didn't get dyed and antiqued and all kinds of stuff like that. So anyway, All right, so I've got to wait about 10 minutes for these edges to dry, and then I'm going to sand them. So we're going to have to pause this for a few minutes. All right, it's just been a couple of minutes, but these edges are pretty dry. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is sand these down. And it's just like edge ink. When you're sanding on it, you're like, well, what the heck? It's taking it all off. Well, it's actually smoothing the surface and filling all the voids so that when you put your second coat on, it starts to build up. And by the time you get to your third coat, you have a really nice smooth edge. And again, it's going to be clear. So, yeah. It's just a fun, different way of doing it, and I kind of like the look. And it's very durable and permanent. It won't, it's not just going to come off the second somebody puts this wallet in their pocket. I'm sanding very, very lightly on these pieces that are just one layer of 2 to 3 ounce. They I don't want to ruin the rigidity of them by pushing all hard when I sand on them. All right, I did that. Now I'm going to put another coat of the edge ink on. And again, I'm not going to make you watch this. I don't need this video to be 6 hours long on the simplest wallet we make. All right, so 2 coats is good enough on these really thin pieces. I did go ahead and put a third coat on the wallet back piece, and I'm just going to set it to the side to dry while we do a little bit more work on these pieces. So the next thing we need to do is fit these pieces. Oop, turn it with that that line on the top, of course. Fit these pieces to this piece right here. All right. Real simple to do. We're going to line up the edge, the outside edge, and the bottom. And over here, we'll do the exact same thing. Line up the outside edge and the bottom. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a little mark right along where the inside edge is there, so I'll know where to glue. So I got my stylus out. I'm just going to take it, and what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to lift this up just the slightest little bit and put my mark underneath that edge because I don't want to see it in my finished project. All right. So here we go. We're doing the exact same thing. I'm putting that mark right up underneath the line. So there's my 2 little marks, so now I know where to put glue. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to glue just the very, very, very edge. Whoop, sorry. We need to put another mark up here. I'm sorry. When we line these up, we also need a little marker up here at the top of the card pocket so we know where to stop putting glue. Okay. Same on the other side. Alright, I got all my little marks. So I'm going to take my glue and I'm just going to put a teeny little bead of it right around the edges of those 3 little sides on both card pieces, and or on the divider piece here and both card pockets. Alright. Very thin little 1/8 of an inch line of glue, just so we're not getting it all messy. It just needs to tack it down into place while we hand sew. It's all it needs to do. Alright, so both of those have glue on them now. I keep calling it glue, it is contact cement. Some people have corrected me on that, but it holds two things together, and that's what glue does. So, I just call it glue. Alright, so also on this piece, just right along the edge, and if you can get it right up to the edge, it'll make a much nicer finished edge. Once I go and put my edge ink all the way around it and stuff, it'll weld those two pieces together to the point that there's not a gap in between them, and that's the goal. Alright, all that glue is placed. Now I'm going to just take and carefully line up my edges and place these pieces. I'm going to start with the outside corners. Make sure I'm really lined up, got my perfect alignment on the top and the side, or the bottom and the side. And press it down pretty hard to get that glue to marry up well. And then I'll do the same thing over here. Lining it up on the outside corner. And pressing. Alright, there it is. Those are done. So now what we need to do is sew this little corner on each of these, all right? And that's a separate sew line than the one that'll go around the entire wallet. All right, so all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pull up my big piece of rubber board here. I'm gonna use my 8 stitches per inch pricking iron here, and it should fit pretty much perfectly on there. And I'm leaving one tooth right over the top of the card pocket. I want that loop down there. So one tooth is over the top, and then the other 7 teeth are on it. And I'll do the exact same thing on the other side. Just 1/8 of an inch or so inside of the card pocket. Not exactly on the edge, but pretty dadgum close to it. Now we'll go ahead and sew that down. I'm going to use a red hand sewing thread because I think it'll be fun to go with the natural here. But as I'm looking around my desk, that is something I failed to bring over here. So be right back. All right, grab my little stitching clamp here, and I cut me a couple of small pieces of red thread. Again, I'm only doing 8 stitches on each, so I don't need a ton of it right this second. Go ahead and throw this in my clamp. And when I hand stitch both of these, I'm going to start at the top and work my way down. All right. Where's those 2 needles I just laid over here a minute ago? Never prepared, right? I had 2 needles, I swear I had them. I'll be back. Alright, got my harness needles. I'm going to do a real quick saddle stitch. Here we go. With saddle stitching, the biggest secret is always do everything the exact same with every single stitch, and then they'll look very nice and uniform. So when you pull them tight tight the exact same every time. Pull them the same direction, pull them with the same amount of pressure. It takes practice, but man, you can do some beautiful stitching once you've got it down. I'm just going to do one of these on camera, and then I'll pause it and do the other one up. But I'm just going to stitch all the way to the bottom there, and then I'm going to do 2 back stitches, and we'll be done. With hand stitching, always go through the finished side first, which is the front side there, and then do the back side second. Again, that helps with the uniformity, and it helps the threads to not get crisscrossed in there. This is a 0.8 millimeter hand sewing thread at 8 stitches per inch. This is my standard combination for wallets. I don't like using the heavier thread on wallets, the 1.0 millimeter. I prefer this 0.8. It's got a nice look to it. I'll show you what that stitch looks like, and then again I'll pause it and do the other side there. I will show you though how I cut these things off. I've shown this on a lot of videos, and it does seem to help folks, so I'll show it every time. People ask me all the time what kind of thread burner I use, and I don't use one. What I'll do is I'll take and I'll put that blade right at the base of this thread, and then I don't move the blade, I move the thread. And when it cuts it off perfectly flush. If you don't move the blade, it won't accidentally nick your leather. It's just gonna cut it and be done. So, pause it, do the other one, come back to you. Alright, stitching horses out of the way. So I'm going to bring the camera back down a little bit. Alright, so while I've got this piece laid on the bench, this is the best time to try to go ahead and make my stitch groove all the way around the outside, because once it's on the curve of the wallet, it's going to be pretty hard to do. So let's just go ahead and use our stitch groover. I'm going to cut me a nice clean groove all the way around the outside. And I'm going to go nice and slow, because this is another one of those that once you screw it up, you're not going back. Don't need too deep of a groove in this one, considering how thin the leather is. Alright, so what I'm going to do here too though is I'm going to start sewing across the top of this before I put the interior onto it. Okay, if you notice, the interior is just slightly shorter than the exterior, and that's when you go to open the wallet, you can easily separate it with your thumb, or when you go to put money in it, you can easily catch that lip and just stuff it in there without having to toggle with it too much. I've seen lots of wallets made where those two are even, and while it looks nice and everything, it's not thinking of the end user and what he's going to have to go through, or she, when they're standing in line buying movie tickets or whatever and trying to shove some change in there and their money in there in a hurry. So that's why I do that. Now I'm going to introduce a new toy. This is something we are soon to be selling. This is the Maker's Leather Supply Punch-O-Matic. This was actually designed by Chuck Smith, the tool maker. and it's like a sewing machine. It just pokes your holes though. It punches your stitching holes, and it has adjustments for your stitch length. But basically it feeds the leather through it by itself. And I'm going to see if I can get it on here without it facing me. I kind of need it to face me, but I want to show it on the camera. Figure out where I need that first stitch to be. Alright, so it's got a little guide on the back to decide where you need, you know, how far into the leather you want your stitch to be. And I've already set that up for same as my stitch groover. And all I have to do, whoop, I'm starting on the wrong end because I'm an idiot. So, alright, so let's try that one more again. I'm going to line it up, get it right where I need it. And every time I pull the handle all the way down, it puts that hole in there and moves the leather for me, just like a sewing machine does. Alright. And this is going to be a pretty quick way to get your holes going. It'll have different size blades, and again, you can adjust your stitch length. I haven't played with it yet, but I'm really hoping that this thing will take care of buck stitch holes in a hurry. Just got this thing in today from the folks that are making them for me. This is the prototype model, just to make sure everything works fine before I order a ton of them. But I put this thing into some 1/4 inch thick skirting, and it did well. I mean, it just sewed it right down. Now, again, it's designed to be facing me, so I'll show you it can go much quicker if I've got it where I need it. And I'm just going to go all the way across the top of that and put all those holes in. And then I will hand sew that top part there. And then I'm not going to cut my threads at the end of it. I'm going to start here, go all the way to the corner here, and then I'm going to go ahead and glue in my interior pieces, and we'll just continue sewing all the way around. The good news is that kind of lined up with that misdone stitch there, so that's good. Alright, so there you have it. All my holes are clearly made. And they're at that nice slanted, I mean, this is like a slanted, for lack of a better word, small chisel to make those holes. So, yeah, I'm going to hand sew those, and then I'll show you the stitches that I made. Alright, got that stitched up. Those stitches look pretty, other way, look pretty good. I wish I could get that thing to focus on them better. Maybe, probably too much light. Almost had it. Focus here. Right here. So anyway, the stitches do look pretty good in front and back. And yeah, I'm very impressed with that little thing so far. I'm going to be doing some more testing on it, beating the crap out of it, making sure it's good and durable, and seeing what all its capabilities are before I put it on, put them on the website and order a ton of them. Alright, I forgot an important thing. This piece, the interior piece here, is smaller than the exterior piece. Alright, now that is so that the wallet, when you throw it down, stays folded and it doesn't just try to unfold. So you see that little gap right there? We have to create that little gap. So all we do is we take a hole punch. If you don't have a hole punch, you could even do a little notch or whatever there. This one's a 7/16, so you could use a 1/2 inch, I'm sure. The 7/16 is a teeny tiny bit small for the area, but it was just the first one I grabbed. So I'm going to take it and I'm just going to use half of the hole punch and put it right there, and then I'll get my maul and give it a punch, and there she goes. So now I have that area. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to glue half of this wallet together and stop right there. Alright, so I've got my I got my stitch ending right here, and again I left my tails on there because I'm just going to continue stitching once this thing's put together. So I've got to glue the outside piece to the inside piece, and I'm going to make me a little mark right here where that notch is with my stylus. And that's going to tell me where to stop gluing. And up here I know to stop gluing just, just below that stitch line, so that's not really a problem. So once again, just an 1/8 of an inch line of glue, not a ton of it by any means. Just a little bit, because all we're doing is holding her together to stitch it, and then of course making sure that edge is nice and sealed so that when we go to put the edging stuff on the edge, it looks like it's one piece of leather and not 2 or 3 sewn together. Okay. All right. Peter Main taught me a long time ago about this glue brush here. This is the standard glue brush that comes with our jars, but he showed me a long time ago that if you just trim that little brush off, you can be a lot more accurate with your glue placement. And then you don't have to worry about it, getting everywhere while you're trying to be clean with it. Because again, I'm just trying to get a little bit on the edge here. And then I'm going to glue all the way up to that little mark. Seal my jar up because nobody likes cleaning dried up glue out of a jar. And I'm going to once again start with the corner, line this bad boy up, and press it together, starting up there and then down across here. Alright, now I can continue running my stitch. Of course I have to start with my stitch holes, so I'm going to bring up the little punch-o-matic thingy again, and I'm just going to continue on putting it through the little machine. Where'd it go? There it is. Alright, so I really am just experimenting with this machine. I'm not 100% sure of its real capabilities yet, so if I do run into a place that I can't do it with the little machine, I'll just have to grab my awl and go old school with it. But I need to know what this thing is capable of. Alright, so I'm carefully making sure that I've got my first stitch kind of lined up with where my last corner stitch was there. I know that you can't see this under my hands, I'm sorry. Give it a punch, and there it goes. So we're going to go all the way down to the bottom of the wallet and then around that bottom corner down there. It's really awkward doing it at this angle, but I'm trying to do it where you can see too. And I think what all I'm doing is blocking both of our views. This thing is currently set up. It's just over 8 stitches per inch. Or under, I guess. Anyway, it's about 7.5 stitches per inch is one of the settings on this little thing. But so far, I'm very pleased with this little gadget. Once I decide that it is good enough for us, it will be on the website as a pre-sale because I do have to buy quite a few of them to have the minimum order that I have to have because they're making these just for me. No one else has them. Just trying to get my edge right up there where it needs to be. All that spacing is going to be important so that your stitches look right. Alright, now I'm going to turn this thing towards me and I'm going to get some stitching done here. And again, I'm only going to that middle part where I glued it together, and I'm hoping I can kind of feel that when I get it there. I don't want to go past that. Where are we at? A few more. All right, I'm in the gap. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and stitch up those 2 sides, and then I'll come back again. Alright, so I sewed up to the point that it was right there in that gap. So there it is on the outside, looking pretty spiffy. So what I need to do though is figure out when the wallet is folded over and glued down right here, how many more stitches before I get to that interior piece there. See what I'm saying? And I want to try to do this with the little punch-o-matic thingy, so I've got to try to figure out how I'm going to do that. Ordinarily, I would just kind of hold that up there, figure out where it's at, take my awl and punch a couple more holes, and then glue the thing together and keep stitching all the way around. But again, I want to try to use my little punch-o-matic thingy and see if there's a way to manipulate it underneath that, because I am testing that thing out and I am trying to figure out its capabilities and also its limitations. And this may very well be a limitation. I know I could go probably 2 more stitches in this thing before I got into this area. So I'm going to go ahead and see if I can put it back in there and do 2 more stitches, or 2 more holes, by folding this thing back. And again, I don't know if I can. I'll have to see. This may be for flat work only. Yeah, and it's looking like it is. I don't want to mar up the face of my wallet trying. So yeah, this we're gonna have to work with that a little bit. I'm gonna take my awl though, and I'm going to just go ahead and put a couple more manual holes in there, and then we will glue up this other side and continue stitching all the way around. So I need to move that back. Alright, so I'll put those 2 holes in. Now I'm going to go ahead and glue this side down. So once again, I'm going to start gluing about right here, go all the way up and up this other side, and then I'll do the exact same thing on the back of the interior piece there. Alright, let that set for just a second and then we'll stick her together. I think I'm done with my glue on this project. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stretch this to where the ends of it really meet up here. I'm going to start gluing, start pressing it together right there on the very edge, getting that stuck. And then I'll work my way back to that center fold. There we go, and then it helps to kind of fold the wallet over. That takes the stress off your glue line there. I think what I'll do is take my my pricking iron and go ahead and do the next set of stitches with it, and then after that I know I'll be able to get this up back under the little punch-o-matic thing without marring up the back of the wallet. Question is though, will that change the look of the stitch? Hopefully not. The punch-o-matic was kind of designed to mimic what our pricking irons do, and it's the blade on it is about the same as the pricking iron. So all I'm going to do is put the blade down in that last pricking iron hole and then just keep on rocking it. So there we go. We negated that pretty easily. You know, just being careful and making sure that our holes were all going to line up. Make sure the end of it's still nice and glued down. Sure hate for that to have slipped out from under while I wasn't dealing with it. Alright, now back up the last side, and we're going to be done with this sucker pretty quick. I really like this little machine. It saves me a lot of time and aggravation of not beating my chisels and my pricking irons and stuff in. Alright, so I'm just going to keep on hand stitching all the way around, and when we come back, the stitching part will be done and we'll be back to edging again. So stay tuned. Alright, finished up my stitching and I ended it right there in the top corner. So now we have a continuous stitch that goes all the way around the wallet. Now there's a couple of little things I need to do. One of them is going to be that I'm just going to barely nick off the corners. As soon as there it is, my scalpel. I'm just going to barely 45 degree these little corners here on all four sides, because corners tend to wear poorly on leather. So if I just cut them off, then it'll wear better. And then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take it out there to my drum sander, and I'm going to sand all these edges flush right here. I'll come back in, I will use my Berry King edge beveler on them, and that'll be that. Other than that, I've got to put my my edge ink on these and finish the edges. But that's it. That's the entire build right there. We've made a very nice little wallet. I'm going to oil it. Right now, that's all I'm going to have decided to do to it, is just oil it. I am going to put my maker's mark right here because I always forget. And yeah, so let's do that right quick because that's important. I'm not going to use my big Gorilla stamp on this one because it's just not the right thing for this one. This is a small, fine made wallet, and it doesn't need the big bold Gorilla stamp. So I'll just put my little bitty maker's mark on here. Hopefully get it on there nice and straight. So far, no. Ah, there we go. Now it says Aaron Heiser, Maker, Elmont, Texas. Teeny tiny little lettering. So thanks so much for watching. Again, this is I'm Aaron Heiser of Maker's Leather Supply, building this wallet actually for the Tandy Leather Company. They're going to be using it for something, but anyway, this was the Minimalist Wallet template set, and yeah, hope you enjoyed the video, hope you learned something, and if you ever need any help with anything, have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments. If you enjoy my videos, please subscribe to my channel. That will help you know when I post another one. Thank you very much. Have a great night.